Saudi Arabia sells Canadian assets as dispute escalates. Saudi Arabia is selling Canadian assets as the kingdom escalates its response to Ottawa's criticism of the arrest of a female activist. The Saudi Central Bank and state pension funds have instructed their overseas asset managers to dispose of their Canadian equities, bonds and cash holdings no matter the cost, two people with direct knowledge of the order said. Third-party managers are estimated to be mandated to invest more than $100 billion of Saudi funds in global markets, executives say. While the proportion of that figure invested in Canadian holdings would be fairly small in absolute terms, the asset sale sent a strong message, one of the people said. The sell-off began on Tuesday and underlines how the Gulf monarchy is flexing its financial and political muscle to warn foreign powers against what it regards as interference in its sovereign affairs. "This is severe stuff," said one banker. Saudi Arabia has begun a sell-off of Canadian holdings, expelled the country's ambassador, frozen new trade and investment with Ottawa, suspended a student exchange program to Canada, halted Saudi Arabian Airlines flights to the North American country, ended all medical treatment programs in Canada. The dispute between Riyadh and Ottawa erupted after Chrystia Freeland, Canada's foreign minister, called for the release of Samar Badawi, a prominent Saudi women's rights activist who has family in Canada. Ms. Badawi and another activist were arrested last week as part of a government crackdown against dissenting voices, human rights groups said. In response to Ms. Freeland's criticism, Saudi Arabia expelled the Canadian ambassador, froze new trade and investment with the G7 member, suspended a student exchange program and halted flights by state-owned Saudi Arabian Airlines to Canada. Riyadh also said it was suspending medical treatment programs in Canada and working to transfer Saudi patients out of the country. Adel Al-Jubair, Saudi foreign minister, told a press conference on Wednesday that there would be no new Saudi investment in Canada until the crisis was resolved, but added that existing trade and investment would not be affected. However, one financier confirmed that Canadian securities had been sold on explicit instructions from Riyadh. "Canada made a mistake and they know what they need to do to correct it," Mr. Jubair said. The kingdom's actions carry echoes of the measures Saudi Arabia and its regional allies have taken against Qatar since imposing a regional blockade on the Gulf state a year ago. The Saudi Arabian Monetary Authority, the central bank, had foreign assets of $506 billion in July, most of which are invested in U.S. treasuries. Pension funds such as the General Organization for Social Insurance and the Public Pension Agency manage additional assets. The Public Investment Fund, the Saudi Sovereign Wealth Fund, also has $250 billion of assets under management, including stakes in global companies such as Tesla and Uber, as well as local assets. Since Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman became heir apparent last year, Riyadh has adopted an increasingly assertive approach to achieve its foreign and domestic policy aims. He has pledged to open up the conservative kingdom, but has also displayed a decreasing tolerance for criticism. Authorities rounded up more than 300 princes and businessmen late last year and detained them at the Ritz-Carlton in Riyadh in a crackdown on corruption. The extraordinary clampdown spooked the foreign business community at a time when Prince Mohammed is trying to attract foreign investors into the kingdom to help realize his vision for modernizing the oil-dependent economy. When the embargo was imposed on Qatar last summer, fund managers said Saudi Arabia asked them to remove Qatari investments from their portfolios and refrain from using the stock exchange in Doha. German companies have also complained about difficulty in securing contracts in Saudi Arabia since Berlin criticized Riyadh's role in Lebanese politics and moved to halt arms sales to countries involved in the war in Yemen, including Saudi Arabia. Analysts say Riyadh's decision to sell off Canadian assets risks further undermining business confidence in the kingdom. These sort of actions are not going to assure minds about the stability of doing business there, said a leading emerging markets investor.